Alright, so this is somewhat different. Usually what I do is it's usually just when I review comics, it's almost always trades. But I had read some floppies recently because I was kind of, well, one of them I had to read because it was the Harley Quinn book was the sequel to Harleen. There was the Harley Quinn Black, White, and Blood. I'm just gonna call it Black, White, and Blood. That's exactly what it's called. Black, White, and Red actually is what it's called. But that Harley Quinn Black, White, and Red, the first story is a sequel to Harleen, and I knew I needed to read that. I needed to read Harleen beforehand, and then at that point I kind of was going through my Black Label Prestige Plus books, like, oh, let's read this one, read that one. A lot of it was just breaking even because I had, like when I started out with the big stack of books I showed you. Basically, for those of you who don't want a huge ass explanation, I'm not going to give one. Basically, the first few days I was reading like floppies along with the OGNs, original graphic novels. A weird thing no one else does but me, but it's one of those things that just that's what I do. First one up is a random issue of Simpsons comics. This I only read because the Simpsons comics Supernova trade had one less issue than I thought it did. It was like a 10-page story I thought would be at least 26 pages, or the average issue size like this size, but it wasn't. It was like even like less than half of this right here. So to break even, I read this one. I thought it was pretty decent. Maybe one of the weakest Simpsons comics, honestly, but I still liked it. It was honestly pretty fast paced. Like a lot of the Simpsons comics, I feel like take their time. But this is written by Ian Boothby, who I think is the best Simpsons comics writer, at least the most memorable one. Like whenever I saw his name, I knew I was in for a good comic. But overall, these Simpsons comics are really like if you are expecting the golden age in comic form, you're not gonna get that. You'll get some decent jokes. You'll get some decent stories in here, but nothing that I would say to go out of your way to buy. If you're a huge Simpsons fan, then I would say buy this. But if you're just a casual fan that's a little bit above a casual fan like I am, like I was definitely when I started collecting the Simpsons comics, it's been a long time. I've had these comics since I was 14. That was when I was really into the show, and that was perfect back then. Um, but nowadays, I've never gotten that feeling I got before, where I'd read a Simpsons comic, and then like 2 hours later, because I'd also be watching a TV show along with it, I would think to myself, "Hey, did we watch a Simpsons episode today?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did. It was the episode where they did this." I'm like, "Oh wait, no, that was a comic." Like I get it confused with actually watching the show. That's how good the Simpsons comics were back then. But nowadays, they're kind of like I think a good comparison is it's like those episodes of modern Simpsons that everyone can admit was actually pretty good. Like not classic, but it was good for modern Simpsons. That's what it is. Like it's one of the decent episodes of modern Simpsons. Next up, we have Birds of Prey. Now this one is 100 pages, but the pacing is so good it feels like it's only 50 pages. Like you can definitely tell it's a double-sized issue. Like it was not a double-sized issue. You can definitely tell it's not your average page length, but it has such good pacing that this 100-page book feels like it's 50 pages. And I wouldn't mind getting a sequel to this because it kind of ends on like a not all loose ends seem to be tied up. So I think that a sequel to this series would be really good. A sequel to this one shot would be ideal. But very very good, and it's another example of why Brian Azzarello is a criminally underrated writer. Another reason why I don't do the floppies with I don't review them alongside the trades is because on Instagram, taking a picture of the side of this, what I do is like I have a stack of books. You can see what this book is. It's lowest link. It's a soft cover. It says right on the spine what the book is. Because of how thin comics are, floppies are, the magazine-sized ones, you can't tell what this book is. I put it on the side and have to 5,000 pictures of something like this. That's gonna look stupid. At least having it the stack of books, the trades, it looks good. So you can see what each book is. All you have to do is zoom in. Worst case. So that's why. And also, I like keeping them separate. I put these back to back. Where's the other book? There. Why isn't all? Why are all three of them here? Or four of them here? Why I do it like that? Nothing. I might just go ahead and I can't find it. That's not good. Oh well. Sword of Hyperborea, I don't know why all 4 issues aren't here, but they should because I have all 4 issues in floppy physical format, and Radio Spaceman. Just 2 really fast-paced Mike Mignola books. If I had to pick my favorite one, I would say Sword of Hyperborea. Radio Spaceman is way too quick. You barely know anything about the characters. It's just like it's literally like a hour-and-a-half movie condensed into a half hour. It is very strange, but I still like it. I still think it's decent. It still tells some of what it was like. There still is a conclusion to it, but like so much, there's just the ending is like, oh, these 2 people. I mean, mild spoiler. These 2 people died, and it's like, who were they again? Like I don't know any of their names or anything like that. At least for Sword of Hyperborea, I could tell you what happened. I'd have to flip through the issues, but I could tell you what happened in each issue. Like a brief synopsis, of course, but I could tell you what happened in each issue. But yeah, I don't know why issues 1 and 2 are missing. Oh, and I put them in the wrong bin. That's what I did. The Commissioner is a one-shot, and this is a great example of you can tell a whole story in 1 issue. Sure, it's to be continued because all these one-shots were concluded in the Hell Arisen and what's the one? Batman Who Laughs, I believe. No, Batman and Superman. Batman, Superman, and not Batman and Superman. Batman, Superman, and Year the Villain Hell Arisen concluded all these stories. So you had they did have it to be continued, but it still was a condensed story. It still told this entire story in 1 issue of what it wanted to tell. There wasn't really a whole lot of loose ends to be tied up that where you think that Hell Arisen couldn't do that. No, it definitely is. Jesus, that was terrible. Definitely seems to be a beginning, middle, and end to this book. And I think it's a really good one. I come back to these little one-shots every now and then, and it's almost like reading for the first time sometimes. Of course, yeah, I know how it ends and everything like that, but solid book. I would recommend purchasing this. But nowadays, it should be a $1 comic. Like, there's no reason it should be any comic store should charge you full price. Next up, we have Murder World, Avengers, and Spider-Man. Now, this one, I did have the trade, so I'm going to review it as a trade, not review it as each individual issue. This was alright. It's definitely false advertising to say Murder World Avengers. And it's not a spoiler, because I think this should be this kind of a buyers beware kind of deal. But they're just robots. It's new characters in the Murder World, like that arcade kind of thing. It's them interacting with all like the little traps or whatever. It's basically like our Battle Royale Hunger Games type deal, but they're robots that have to fight and each other too at certain points, but mostly it's the robots, and it's weird. It's strange, but I like it. I think Jim Zub can do the weird, strange Silver Age, technically Silver Age homage. It's definitely not Silver Age. It's like violent, but as like it's kind of it's like campy kind of feel, I guess you could say. I don't know why I said Silver Age, honestly. Like it's hard to explain, but basically it's like campy feel that you don't get in comics nowadays. I think I don't know. I feel like I'm filming these comics right now. So Basilisk, you got the review of it. That's right, too. You already got the review of this comic. It's still good. I still really like this Cullen Bunn series. And it's again, like that Birds of Prey book, it's proof that Cullen Bunn is also a criminally underrated author. And this is another example of why he is. Why I say that. Nebula, I shouldn't even be reviewing this one because it's a 5-issue miniseries. I only read issue 1. But so far, so good. I do want to seek out the trade, but I would not spend money on it. Even on... Maybe if it was a sale and it was $3 for the digital trade, maybe then. But other than that, I'm fine with waiting until whenever I can get it. We Live, the sequel. Yeah, I don't like the series at all. It's just... It should be my thing because I do like the sci-fi genre. But it's just... I think a lot of it... And this one is actually a little bit better. I think towards the end of the first 2 issues, I kind of... Part of me did say, the library has it. Maybe I will check out the Age of the Paladins Volume 2, We Live, but it's never going to be a series that I seek out myself. And which is a shame, because everyone seems to like this book, and I'm just the odd man out. And it's kind of one of those things where I shouldn't feel that way. Like, it should be a book that I like just as much as everyone else does, because everyone I trust really liked this book. I don't know if it was everyone, but I want to say at least one that I really trust liked it. Basilis again. Why don't I have Basilis with Basilis? Why was I unorganized? Basilis, I definitely want to see if they have Volume 3. Because I have Volumes 1 in trade form, and then Volume 2 in floppy form. And I have the first issue of Volume 3, and it was so good, I wanted to get out myself. X-Men Unlimited, very forgettable. I think I like this one. No, I didn't like this one. I think a lot of it was that there was just so much dialogue. Like, right here. There's a lot of dialogue, and a lot of word balloons, a lot of text. And it's obvious because it should be that way, because it's a Chris Claremont book. But if you like Chris Claremont's over, like, super heavy dialogue, you'll like this book. And I remember liking the old X-Men comics, like when he first started out on X-Men. That was like a page turner for me. But I think as he kept going with X-Men, the longer and longer he stayed on X-Men, the more and more it became obvious that he kind of never strayed away from that heavy dialogue, war balloons. Back in the day, it made sense. It was not Golden Age. It was Bronze Age, so it made sense. But when I think it came out in they came out in the 90s. At that point, it was a lot of dialogue. But I remember liking it enough. Like, the story was really good. I think the story was actually done by Joe Pruitt. I want to say the story was done by Joe Pruitt, and then the script was done by Chris Claremont. If you know Chris Claremont, it makes a whole lot of sense to say that. But I don't know Joe Pruitt enough to say that that's true or not. Another book that I only have the first issue of, so technically I shouldn't be reading it, and that is Venom First Host. Issue 1 starts out really good. I believe it's another book that I will definitely, unlike Nebula, I will definitely check this one out if they have a sale on it. And it's like $3, I'll consider it. I will definitely get it then. Now on to the floppies, the Prestige Plus DC books, all of which I read the entire series of. First up, we have The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage. This is written by Jeff Lemire, and I really dug this one. This one was definitely, it definitely takes the time. I think that it starts out kind of slow, but once it gets going, it is pretty interesting. Overall, it definitely is, like, that has that noir feel, so it's definitely not fast-paced. There's no fast-paced action, but it definitely gets a lot more interesting as it goes along. I think it's worthy of a reread. I think on a reread, I'll like this a lot better. Along with Harleen, right? Yep, Harleen. This one, everyone said was like one of the best Black Label books, and when this came out, everyone was like, "Oh, Black Label, it's a new best thing," and everyone was checking out the Black Label books. And I finally read this one, and I gotta say, it is. I feel the way that a lot of people feel with the Superman, when Superman gets yet another origin retelling. Like, I liked Birthright, I like Secret Origin, I like American Alien, I like For All Seasons. I really dig those books, and all 4 of those are just a retelling of Superman's origin with some changes. And same thing here, it's the retelling of Harley Quinn's origin with some changes. I think the changes are really good, but when you know the story, it's kind of like, yeah, we know what's gonna happen in the end. I think having 64 pages per issue is a huge mistake. I think they should have made it 6 issues, so each issue felt like a lot shorter, because it was 6 issues rather than 3 issues. Because it definitely is points they could have ended the issue and then split it in half. But yeah, I think on a reread I like this a lot more. But definitely the highlight of all of them, and even this one wasn't like one of Brian Azzarello's best, and this is Suicide Squad Get Joker. I think this definitely a good example of what Black Label can do. Black Label can be a little bit edgier. They can have nudity in it because of Batman Damned, but they can have more cursing and more violent content in it, and a lot darker elements. There's a point in this book that I think they should make it part of Harley Quinn's continuity. Maybe have it in a flashback to make it make more sense, but it really it's the most memorable part of the comic, and not just because the comic was a bit slower paced. No, in general, like if it was in any other book, it would say even if it was in the her original origin from the main continuity DC Comics, it's way too dark. It's way too dark of an element to put in an animated show, like a Batman animated series. But maybe an animated movie, if they put it in Red Hood or. They didn't do it in Red Hood, but they did it in one of the PG-13 DC animated movies. That would be the most memorable part of even that movie. Even that, even if it's Red Hood, it'd be one of the more memorable parts of Red Hood. It'd be one of the more memorable parts of her main continuity origin story. And it's pretty damn dark, and it shows that Joker is definitely an awful character, and definitely it's good that she moved away from him, and nowadays she's better without the Joker. But definitely worth reading. And finally, we have Piecemeal. Another example of a book that this is 48 pages, and it feels like it's 24 pages. Yet again, written by Cullen Bunn, and yet again a book that Cullen Bunn, that proves that Cullen Bunn is an underrated writer. Okay, now I'm going to go through all of them, except for the one-shots. Even Simpsons comics I won't really rate. Nah, I'll read it, because the Simpsons comics, like the TV show, you can pick up any comic for the most part. I don't think there are any two-parters. And you can just pick that one up. But Nebula I'm not going to rate. We Live I shouldn't technically rate. All the issues that I didn't finish, you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. Venom First Host, I didn't finish that entire series. I only have is issue 1, so I'm not going to review that one. I'm not review that one. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10 score. That's what I'm doing right now. Simpsons comics, 6 out of 10. Murder World, 5.5 out of 10. I think it's worthy of a reread. I think a lot of the problem is that the new characters they write aren't really all that interesting. Some of the backstories are interesting and it fleshes out the characters, but overall I was kind of unimpressed with the series. And I was glad that I decided to wait for my library to get it before I got it when it was on sale. Even on sale I considered it to be a waste of money. When the library just had it. All I had to do was wait for the library to have it. It was one of those books that I put in what's called a materials request. With a library that you go to, the library itself gets a book, and if no other libraries have it, your local library can get it for you. Commissioner, I count this because there's no Commissioner issue 2. It's also counted as its own standalone story, and I give this an 8 out of 10. Super static right now. Sword of Hyperborea. This one I would give a 7 out of 10. 7.5. 7 out of 10 seems too low. It's definitely very fast-paced, but unlike Radio Spaceman, it's fast-paced, but it also tells a story. There's no loose ends tie up. There's no it doesn't feel too rushed at all. Is what I'm trying to say. There you go. I couldn't think of it. Radio Spaceman. If you want a quick, fast-paced story, here you go. But overall, I give it a 6 out of 10. Basilisk, whatever I gave it, I think I gave a 9 out of 10. I would say 9 out of 10. It still is 9 out of 10. And I know I said, I can't include the books, I don't have Volume 3, so in Volume 3 starts with issue 9, I believe. But I have issues 5 through 8 right here. So there you go. And that's all of Volume 2. Birds of Prey, I give it 9 out of 10. The Question, I would give a 7 out of 10. Along with Harley. So both Harley and Question get 7 out of 10. And you know what? Suicide Squad get Joker too. So all of them get 7 out of 10s. Because I felt about the same way for all of them. And that, as I say, is that. Quick little comic reviews. There you go. 20 minutes still.